Mwena mbaramusiza mwena. Mwebale kurwana urutaro rupapura. Your Excellencies,
Excellences,
the visiting heads of state,
les chefs d'État et de gouvernement,
we have been fighting Corona here.
on est en train de lutter contre le Corona, ici, le COVID-19.
Therefore, for this occasion,
À cette occasion,
we invited only leaders
nous avons seulement invité les chefs d'État et d'autres leaders,
no leaders within Uganda.
les chefs dans le gouvernement ougandais.
These people you see seated here
Tous les gens que vous voyez qui sont assis là-bas
are leaders in the districts of Uganda.
sont les chefs dans les différentes régions de l'Ouganda.
There are about 5,000 of them.
Ils sont 5000 en nombre.
And they are all tested for Corona.
Et ils ont tous testé pour le COVID-19.
That's how we allowed them to get together.
C'est comme ça qu'ils ont permis d'être là-bas.
Now, Ugandans, today,
Les Ougandais aujourd'hui
you have had a great honor
ont un grand honneur
of hosting your brothers and sisters
d'avoir
from Africa,
des visiteurs, frères et sœurs de l'Afrique entière,
the heads of state,
les chefs d'État et de gouvernement,
who came to be on this occasion.
qui sont venus assister à cette occasion.
And I'm very grateful for them to come.
Je les remercie d'avoir venu ici.
I will introduce them
Je vais faire la présentation.
not according to their seniority,
Je ne vais pas suivre la présidence,
but according to the way they are listed here. I think it was arrivals.
mais
They
je
were
vais suivre la liste comme ils sont arrivés dans le pays.
We have got His Excellency Felix Antoine Tshisekedi, President of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
J'ai l'honneur de vous présenter, Excellence, Monsieur Félix Antoine Tshisekedi, président de la République démocratique du Congo.
Abakongo mbamanyi mujaya kasente. We have got your brother, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic.
J'ai l'honneur aussi de vous présenter votre frère, Monsieur Uhuru Kenyatta, le président du Kenya.
You have got an old fighter,
Nous avons aussi un ancien combattant,
ancien combattant, yes, who came from very far.
qui est venu de très loin,
His Excellency Alpha Conde, President of the Republic of Guinea.
Son Excellence, Monsieur Alpha Condé, président de la République de
Guinea Conakry.
Guinée-Conakry.
Some of you Ugandans, you don't know much about Africa.
Il y a quelques Ougandais qui ne connaissent pas beaucoup concernant l'Afrique.
You may not know where Guinea Conakry is.
Peut-être vous ne savez même pas où le Conakry se trouve.
But this is the land of His Excellency Sékou Touré.
Mais c'est la terre de M. Sékou Touré.
You have got your relative.
Nous avons aussi notre frère.
Freya is relative. Oh, okay. This is His Excellency General Salva Kiir Mayardit.
C'est Son Excellence M. Salva Kiir Mayardit.
Ate nga bwemanyi omuga gwaffe bagwita Kiira. And His Excellency Salva's name Kiir actually means Kiira. You have got a brother.
Je voudrais aussi vous présenter à notre frère.
And the First Lady.
Et la première dame.
From a distant place.
D'un endroit très loin.
And His Excellency Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia.
C'est Son Excellence Hage Geingob, président de la République de la Namibie.
Some of you may not know where Namibia is.
Peut-être vous ne savez pas où se trouve la Namibie.
But this is the land of Sam Nujoma.
Mais c'est la terre de Sam Nujoma.
You have got a brother who has never been here.
Et j'ai l'honneur de vous présenter à notre frère qui n'a jamais visité l'Ouganda.
And he's from historically a very important country.
Il vient d'un pays très spécial.
And His Excellency Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana.
Son Excellence Akufo-Addo, président de la République de Ghana.
As you know, Ghana,
comme vous savez, le Ghana,
is the land of Nkrumah.
C'est la terre de Nkrumah.
You have got your own brother.
Nous avons aussi votre frère.
His Excellency Muhammad Abdullahi Farmajo, President of the Republic of Somalia.
Son Excellence Muhammad Abdullahi, président de la République de la Somalie.
And the First Lady.
Et la première dame.
We have got His Excellency Emerson Mnangagwa.
Nous avons aussi Son Excellence Mnangagwa,
President of the Republic of Zimbabwe.
Le président de la République de Zimbabwe.
And you know Zimbabwe is the land of Mzee Mugabe.
Et vous savez très bien que c'est la terre de l'excellence décédé M. Mugabe.
You have got Umuvandimwe, a brother, His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye.
Nous avons aussi Son Excellence Ndayishimiye,
President of the Republic of Burundi and First Lady.
Président de la République de Burundi et la Première Dame.
And we have got your own very sister, your own.
Nous avons notre vraie sœur.
This is Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan.
Son Excellence Madame Samia Suluhu, présidente de la République unie de la Tanzanie.
President of the United Republic of Tanzania. You have got Her Excellency Saleh Zewde, President of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia.
Nous avons aussi Excellence le Président de la République fédérale de l'Éthiopie.
You have got His Excellency Yemi Osibajo, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Nous avons aussi le vice-président de la République fédérale de la Nigeria.
You have got His Excellency Malik Agar, member of the Governing Council of Sudan Khartoum, Bashir.
Nous avons aussi M. Agar, membre du Conseil gouverneur du Soudan du Sud.
But these are not Bashiris, these are different.
Ceux-ci sont différents.
And we have got Her Excellency Rose Osuka Raponda, Prime Minister of Gabon.
Nous avons aussi Madame Rose Osuka Raponda, Premier ministre de Gabon.
You have got a powerful freedom fighter lady.
Nous avons aussi un ancien combattant, une dame.
Dr. Naledi, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa.
Dr. Naledi, ministère des Affaires extérieures et coopération internationale de l'Afrique du Sud.
Representing His Excellency Ramaphosa.
Représentant Monsieur le Président de l'Afrique du Sud, Monsieur Ramaphosa.
You have got Honorable Simeon Oyono from Equatorial Guinea.
Nous avons aussi l'honorable Simeon Oyono de la Guinée équatoriale.
We've got Honorable Tete Antonio, Minister of External Relations of Angola.
Nous avons aussi l'honorable Tete Antonio, ministère des Affaires étrangères de l'Angola.
These are representing their presidents.
Ceux-ci représentent leur chef d'État.
We've got a Minister for Veterans.
Nous avons aussi le ministre des anciens combattants.
Honorable George Siria, Minister of Veterans in Mozambique.
Monsieur George Siria, ministère en charge de anciens combattants.
Where we trained your freedom fighters.
C'est là où nous avons formé les combattants qui ont libéré l'Ouganda.
We've got Honorable Mohamed Salem, Minister of Sahara Republic.
Nous avons aussi le ministre de Sahraoui République.
We've got Honorable Sabri from Algeria, representing the President.
Nous avons aussi l'honorable Sahraoui de l'Algérie, représentant Excellence, Monsieur le Président de l'Algérie.
We've got Honorable Mikhail Bogdanov,
nous avons aussi
Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia.
Excellence Mikhail Bogdanov, ministère des Affaires étrangères de la Russie.
You've got Sheikh Shakbout bin Nahyan, Minister of State in the Emirates, UAE.
Nous avons aussi monsieur le ministère des États des Émirats Arabes Unis.
You have got Honorable Abdulaziz Katani, Minister of State for African Affairs of Saudi Arabia.
Nous avons aussi l'honorable Aziz Katan de l'Arabie Saoudite.
We've got Professor Manasi Nshuti, Minister of State for East African Affairs from Rwanda.
Nous avons aussi Excellence Manasi Nshuti,
representing His Excellency Paul Kagame.
du Rwanda, représentant Son Excellence Monsieur Paul Kagame.
You have got our chairperson, our chairman, H. Musa Faki Mohammed, chairperson of the African Union Commission.
Nous avons le chef de commission de l'Union africaine,
Dr. Peter Mathuki, Secretary General of East African Community.
le secrétaire général de la communauté de l'Afrique de l'Est,
Dr. Gebeyehu, Executive Secretary of IGAD.
le secrétaire exécutif de l'IGAD,
His Excellency Zheng, representing President Xi Jinping, President of the Republic of China.
et Son Excellence Yang, représentant Monsieur le Président de la Chine, Jinping.
Ashraf, His Excellency Ashraf Sheram, representing Abdul Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Republic of Egypt.
Excellence Ashraf Data, représentant le chef d'État de la République de l'Égypte.
His Excellency Benson Chali, representing President Edgar Lungu of Zambia.
Excellence représentant le président de la Zambie.
His Excellency Kananathan, representing the President of Sri Lanka.
Excellence Kaminathan, représentant le président du Sri Lanka.
And His Excellency Agulina Musa, representing His Excellency Chakwera, President of Malawi.
Et Son Excellence Agulina Musa, représentant le président du Malawi.
So, Your Excellencies, they don't have to, my speech, everybody has a copy.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, tout le monde a une copie de ce que
Give
je
a
vais
copy
dire
to
aujourd'hui.
everybody, including the ones who speak French, so you don't have to translate for me.
Ok, on va distribuer une copie, même traduite en français. Alors, c'est pas nécessaire de faire la traduction parce que c'est déjà traduit.
This speech is probably printed in a booklet form, even you people you will get.
C'est bien écrit, et puis tout le monde doit avoir une copie, même les francophones.
Your Excellencies, the visiting heads of state, Your Excellencies, heads of delegations, the honorable members of visiting delegations, H.E. the Vice President of Uganda, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Their Highnesses, the cultural leaders, the religious leaders, all the other leaders of state and the NRM party, Your Excellency, the High Commissioners and Ambassadors, the NRM fraternity, leaders and members of other parties, distinguished guests, all the wananchi mwenna, abazee wano n'abataze, mwebale okuwuliriza okuwaba kwaffe nti muleme okwekunganya, nti mugoberere ebigenda mu maaso ku radio, twewala akawuka kano, akawuka tuli kumpi okukavunuuka, temuleka obwato ne bufa magoba. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, the people of Uganda and myself welcome you to Uganda. I thank you for coming to show solidarity with us on this joyful occasion. By 1900, the whole of Africa had been colonized, except for Ethiopia. This was a big shame to Africa, and it was all due to the political fragmentation of Africa in small kingdoms and chiefdoms. Some of the traditional leaders tried to fight to preserve their independence. They were, however, not coordinated, and they were defeated one by one. Taking Uganda as an example, our society at that time was a pre-capitalist, mainly non-money one, using barter trade, and comprised of three social classes: the feudalists, the artisans, and the peasants. By 1962, at independence, this pre-capitalist economy and society had somewhat metamorphosed into a typical enclave colonial economy with a small island of modernity that had entered the money economy, surrounded by a sea of backward subsistence economic activities that only catered for food and no cash. The small monetary enclave economy left by the British was described as the economy of the 3 C's and the 3 T's. The 3 C's being coffee, cotton and copper, and the 3 T's being tobacco, tea and tourism. This little enclave was growing well. In 1969, it grew at the rate of 11%. When the illiterate Idi Amin came in 1971, the small enclave collapsed almost completely. By 1986, 16 years after the onset of the Idi Amin regime, 2 of the 3 C's, cotton and copper, had disappeared, and 2 of the 3 T's, tourism and tea, had either disappeared or radically shrunk. Tea exports had gone from 23 million kilograms in 1969 to only 3 million kilograms. Hence, it was only coffee and tobacco that were still limping on. And there, I put a picture of a tea plantation that had become a forest. You will see it on page 4. And on page 5, I put a picture of similar tea estates after they had been rehabilitated. With the clear-headed ideology of the NRM, we had correctly diagnosed the problem of Uganda. Philosophically and strategically, the main mistake was to emphasize identity, religion, tribe, and gender chauvinism, instead of emphasizing interests such as markets where you sell your products, security, infrastructure, etc. Accordingly, we distilled the 4 principles of NRM. Number 1, patriotism, loving Uganda and rejecting sectarianism of religion or tribe, as well as gender chauvinism. This is, among other reasons, to ensure that the united market of Uganda is available for our producers without any hindrances such as multiple taxation by the different local governments. 2, realizing that the internal market of Uganda is not enough, if we are to support our producers of goods and services, we saw that Pan-Africanism was a necessity for the prosperity of our society. 3, Ugandans could not, however, benefit fully from the Ugandan market, the African market, or indeed the global market, unless they underwent socio-economic transformation, change from the pre-capitalist traditional culture of only working for the stomach or engaging in an economic colonially demanded cash crops to producing remunerative products and services that are market-driven. While joining the money economy is one of the stimuli for socio-economic transformation, we cannot also forget the other one, the development of the human resource through education and improved health. The fourth principle of the of NRM's diagnosis and prescription for Ugandan society is democracy. The Ugandans had not known democracy during the time of the pre-colonial kings and chiefs. They had not known democracy during the time of colonialism and during much of the post-colonial time, except for the 4 years between 1962 and 1966. That is how and why we designed a most elaborate democratic structure involving 96,860 elective positions in the whole country. In Parliament, we have got 353 directly elective constituencies, open to all Ugandans that have advanced level education and are above the age of 18 years old. On account of the reasons of our culture, out of this number, only a small number of women always make it through this law of the survival of the fittest. In the outgoing parliament, such women, the women who can knock down men, were only 19. And in the coming parliament, such women, the ones who can knock down men, are only 14. At independence in 1962, out of a parliament of 92 members of parliament, only 2 were women. Florence Arsulvega and Shugura Vizram, an Indian lady. It is on account of this structural marginalization of some sectors of our society that we added special seats for women, one per district, youth, 1 per region, disabled, 1 per region, workers, 5, the Liberation Army, UPDF, 10, and recently 5 for the older persons, those above 65 years, 1 per region. I doubt very much that there are many comparable pro-people democratic structures in the world. These people are sitting here. They are not a story. They are human beings. They are all here. It is therefore quite comic and laughable to hear of some actors in the world giving us lectures about democracy. You give me a lecture about democracy? What are your own credentials? We designed this system not from the air-conditioned rooms, but from the jungles of our country, where we lived with the people in their hearts in those days for much of the 16 years of the resistance, 1971 to 1986. If you discount the student years where again we interacted closely with the masses. What is needed is to expunge the corruption of the use of money that has been creeping in, brought in by the opportunist careerists looking for jobs and not for service. It is quite laughable to try to give lectures about democracy to architects of such a system. We built this system for our people. We neither seek nor need any approbation from anybody outside Uganda, except our peers in the African Union and NEPAD, to whom we are linked by African brotherhood, solidarity, and shared values based on mutual respect. We can also share our experience with those beyond the African shores on the basis of mutual respect. If you want to know what we are doing in a respectful way, we can share with you, but no lectures. The four principles have served us well. In the last 35 years, the economy has been growing at the rate of 6.2% per annum. It now stands at 40.5 billion if you use the exchange rate method and 116 billion if you use the PPP method. With the activation of the oil sector, which has been dormant ever since 2006, when we discovered the petroleum, and if you add the expected average growth rate of 6% per annum post-COVID-19, the combination will expand the economy to an estimated $67 billion by 2026 using the exchange rate method and 193 billion using the PPP method, meaning that the economy will be growing at the rate of between 9–10% in the initial years of oil production. This rate of growth, although reasonable, is not what I want. With the rise of the literacy rate from 43% in 1986 to now 76.5%, we can achieve much higher, much faster rates of growth, and I will see to that. These rates of growth, 6%, that is calculated by abantu bamba finance abo beba balebyo naye nze speed yange egenda kusinga eno. Ekyo kyaffe kyawano munda temukikyusa mukireke. We have achieved rapid rates of growth in some sectors. These isolated positive rapid rates of growth can be generalized throughout the whole economy. There is a French phrase that I have never forgotten since my aborted attempt to learn French 59 years ago in 1962 at Ntare. Apart from Femi rapport, Ouvrez rapport, je ne comprends pas, etc. I will never forget the phrase, dormir beaucoup. Certainly in Uganda, I do not know about the other parts of Africa. There's been a lot of dormir beaucoup, kulambara, nino Matek, okwebaka, kugweshegera, kulala sana, too much sleep. In Uganda, yesterday I was talking to one delegate, I will not mention the person, the delegate who is sitting here, but I will not mention the person for diplomatic reasons. That person was saying that, but you people, how do you manage to be poor here? With so much rain, so much good soil, and you are poor? Somebody is sitting there in the audience, but I will not tell you who that person is. He asked that question, which I've been asking you myself. That is how you would get poverty with people who have got good land, with fresh water, but only working for the stomach, okole chida chonka, teach me each keken, and no effort at all for the pocket. Sleeping, however, is also good in its own paradoxical way. There are so many things you do not worry about because you are asleep. A snake can come and enter the bedroom when you are asleep, and it will bite you and you die peacefully because you did not have time to worry. When you are awake, however, you worry about so many realities that you continue to face. The NRM has been able to wake up sections of the population of Uganda. In 1986, Uganda was a land of shortages. No sugar, no soap, no paraffin, no textiles, no sodas, no salt, no beer, no petrol, etc., etc. With the limited waking up of some of the sections of the population, Uganda now is a country of surpluses. Maize, where we produce 5 million tons per year, but consume only 1 million tons within Uganda. Milk, we produce 2.6 billion liters, but consume only 800 million liters. Bananas, beef, sugar, where we produce 600,000 tons, but consume only 380,000 tons. Here nataka kushukuru Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta amenipatia mkataba wa tani elfu 90 kwa kila mwaka. Vile vile nataka kushukuru dada yetu Samia, Her Excellency Samia, ameturuhusu kuuza sukari Tanzania. Asante sana. Nataka kushukuru His Excellency Ndayishimiye, Burundi, wananunua sukari yetu. Nataka kushukuru His Excellency Tshisekedi, wanaruhusu sukari yetu Kongo. Nataka kushukuru His Excellency Salva Kiir, wanaruhusu sukari yetu South Sudan na bidhaa nyingine. Otherwise we were stuck with sugar, producing 600,000 tons, but consuming only 380,000 tons. Cement, steel bars, mitaimbwa, tires and tubes for motorcycles, textiles, ceramic tiles, coffee, 7 million bags, tea. Your country now, in spite of only about 40% of the people waking up, 60% are still asleep. But these 40% who have woken up have produced so many products that the internal market is not enough. Therefore, the small colonial enclave economy of 1971 that had been wiped out by the Amin regime has been restored, greatly expanded, and totally new products have been added. This has now vindicated the stand of the NRM ever since 1965, encapsulated in the 4 principles, one of which is Pan-Africanism. Some of the people in Africa, here in Uganda, they talk of tribes. The tribes, religion, oh. Now, let them buy the sugar now. Let the tribes buy the sugar. If the tribes are important, why do we have a surplus of maize and sugar and those which they cannot be bought? The NRM has been telling you from 1965 that Pan-Africanism is the way for Africa to go. Now that you have woken up a bit, you are now seeing it for yourselves now. The question is, when all the Ugandans wake up and start using their assets fully, land, labor, capital, to create more wealth in the 4 sectors of commercial agriculture, industry, services, and ICT, who will buy or utilize all those products? Will the internal market of Uganda be enough? The answer is a clear no. The internal market cannot be enough if serious production takes off in Uganda and also in the other African countries. Do we need examples? Look at China and India. Each of them has got an internal market of 1.4 billion people. Yet they have been greatly assisted by exporting to other countries, including the African ones. How could then the population of Uganda of 46 million people be considered enough to sustainably stimulate and absorb the enhanced products of the Ugandans that have woken from the sleep of ignorance about modern opportunities? This is the moment the Ugandans and the other Africans need to answer the question: is this generation of African leaders determined to build a Latin America in Africa or a United States of Africa in Africa? In 1976, when the British settlers in North America got independence, they wisely decided to unite the 13 colonies of the British of Virginia, New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maryland, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, North Carolina, South Carolina, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. They have been adding other states ever since. That is how you now have the mighty United States of America. The Spanish colonies in South America, on the other hand, decided to remain scattered into the 18 countries of Latin America, of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, French Guyana, Paraguay, Chile, Argentina, and Uruguay. What is the result after 246 years? Prosperity in the United States of America and misery in Latin America, almost universally. How will a big business enterprise. In Honduras, operation 9.9 million. Guatemala, 17.9 million. Costa Rica, 5 million. Panama, 4.3 million, etc. How will these enterprise, big businesses succeed? How will they succeed? Even bigger countries like Brazil, population 212 million, may not easily succeed for the reason that even bigger countries like China and India still need additional markets. By 1900, Argentina was the 10th richest country in the world. What then happened? It was the biggest exporter of beef in the world. That is what I was taught in primary 3 in 1955. What then happened? It seemed the emergence of the protected beef market of the European Union may have been one of the causes of Argentina's decline. I would therefore like to use this occasion to remind the African fraternity that economic and, where possible, political integration in Africa is a sine qua non of the success for Africa. If we are to address the issue of the prosperity of our people and strategic security of Africa, apart from other considerations, I'm glad we are working on the Continental Free Trade Area for the common market of the whole of Africa and on the Confederation of East Africa as a first step to the East African Political Federation. In East Africa, we should not repeat the mistake of 1963 when some actors made us miss our objective of the political federation. And on page 15, I have there the picture of our elders, Mzee Kenyatta, Mwalimu Nyerere, Dr. Obote, on the 3rd of June, 1963. And the headline of the Uganda Argus, which you will see in this booklet here, of that day was East African leaders call for Kenya's independence now and federation this year. Top-level talks end in Nairobi, 3rd of June, 1963. We must, where we can, build a center of gravity for the African race. The African race must have a center of gravity. There are smaller countries in the world. However, many of them have centers of gravity. You have got smaller countries in Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Denmark, small countries. But they have got centers of gravity. USA is the center of gravity for the West Europeans. It is their center of gravity. When they are in trouble, it is the one which rescues them. When Hitler wanted to take them over, and after had taken them over, who rescued them? The USA and somebody else, whom they don't talk about now. Russia, for the Balkans. The Slavic nations of Eastern Europe have a center of gravity in Russia. China for the Far East. India for South Asia. Where is the economic and strategic center of gravity of the African race? Where is it? When you see black people suffering almost everywhere the black people are suffering. You put on TV, you'll see black people suffering all over the world. In Africa here, they are suffering. In the USA, they are suffering. In Brazil, they are suffering. It is partly on account of lacking this center of gravity. Nobody cares about Africans. Nobody thinks Africans, nobody is careful with Africans. I shouldn't do this because the Africans will be unhappy. No. Africans don't matter. In order, therefore, to solve the problem of the new happy phenomenon of surpluses in Uganda, now in Uganda there is a new problem, surpluses. Amaido, Duma, Ebikato, Binji Kamara. So Ekengara has become a problem. But the Kengara is a good problem. In order, therefore, to solve the problem of the new happy phenomenon of surplus in Uganda, we need to deal, along with our brothers and sisters in Africa, with three issues: regional and continental integration, to unite the regional and continental markets, to support production of goods and services better. Higher purchasing power in Uganda so that Ugandans can buy more. This is the answer for the markets. Number three, and good quality products at comparative cost that can be accepted in national, regional, continental, and international markets. These are the three answers to the issue of Ekengera, surpluses, which is a new problem in Uganda. To intensify the struggle for socio-economic transformation, we shall aggressively and without compromise deal with some obstacles. Ekisanja kino bannange, ekisanja kino Katonda gyali. There was some resistance by some parasite groups to our policies of creating and properly using the wealth funds such as Operation Wealth Creation Money, youth funds, women fund, the Myoga fund, etc. We have been having resistance on that. The answer you say, abazukulu bange ab'omu ghetto nabo bali wano bazze bali awo, ab'omu ghetto gye muli, waliwo ab'omu ghetto bali awo, naye bw'owulira ensonga zaabwe ziva mu bakulembeze, abakulembeze be baleeta ekizibu. Ze nseke enzibikidde. Naye ab'omu ghetto babadde bayingiddwa abalabe abadde bagala kubakozesa ebikyamu, naye twogere nabo abasinga obungi babivuddemu, bali awo. Gye muli eyo balina ekidaala kyabwe awo. Kati ababadde balira esente zaabwe mu kkubo bagenda kukoma, tugenda kukwatagana. Omuganda wagambira nti ekiri mutu kimanyi bwananyini kyo. Kyensibye n'abageto yefe abakimanyi. Implementing free education in government primary and secondary schools. That free education must be implemented. Providing free vaccines and therapeutic drugs in government health centers. protecting Bibanja owners over the iniquitous Milo land system, ensuring that the feeder roads are in good condition following the provision of good road equipment for all districts, fighting corruption of government officials, including magistrates and the policemen, and dealing decisively with the cattle thieves and those who steal crops from the gardens. The wealth funds will be concentrated at the parish level in the parish model, except for the Myoga funds that will remain at the constituency. The wealth funds, unlike in the past, will be controlled by the members and not by the government officials. Cow, operational, no. Bagenda kuvamu. Abanayini sako betugenda kusindikira sente. The only prohibition will be to divert the money to non-mission areas. The allocations will be grants to the parish circles. In the past, it was government officials to select beneficiaries. The members will now prioritize the allocation themselves. With free education, and after due consideration, there will be no head teacher that will be tolerated if he or she reimposes school charges. Dealing with corruption and stealing drugs, part of the solution is e-government. All government transactions will be computer-based, no more human-to-human contact. This will be easier to monitor, even for remote supervisions. The corona pandemic hit some sectors badly, especially the hotels, the performing arts, the borders, the sportsmen, etc. This financial year and the next financial year, we have put aside $464 billion, about $130 million, to help these groups as soon as the residual lockdown is removed. The UDB will be further empowered to give low-interest loans to manufacturers, agricultural entrepreneurs, and some actors in the services sector, such as tourism. As far as Corona-19 virus is concerned, we shall open up once we have vaccinated fully 4.8 million people as follows. Population over 50 years of age, the number is 3.3 million. Health workers in public and private health units, 150,000. Teachers and lecturers, 550,000. Security personnel, 250,000. Those with comorbidities, although they are below 50 years, those are 500,000. Total, 4.8 million. Until today, we have so far vaccinated 375,000 people. Apart from importing the vaccines from others, we are developing our own vaccine, able to deal with all the known variants. When we are trying to look for the vaccines, for the equipment, we are being told about Africans. Africans, you shouldn't make vaccines. You should import. That's what they were telling us. You want equipment for vaccine? What? You Africans, what for? Your job is to import. But I rejected that. We shall import once or twice and we shall make our own vaccines. We are moving very well. Only that we delayed because of our slave-minded public servants who waste so much time because they have no confidence in themselves. We have also been trying in humans some therapeutic materials which seem to be effective. Our diagnostics are reaching industrial level, and we have finalized the construction plans for the diagnostic factory. Construction should commence soon. On prevention, the tough measures we took limited the damage. Until the 8th of May, we have had 442,226 infections, 41,652 recoveries, and 346 deaths. Finally, I thank their excellencies that have honored us with their presence on this occasion. This is real brotherhood. We also appreciate the delegations that came from all the other countries. I need to express my concern to African brothers and sisters that are here today and those that are not here, that the situation in a number of points in Africa does not give credit to the African people. The security situations in Libya, Mali, Niger, some parts of Nigeria, Chad, Central African Republic, some parts of Cameroon, Eastern Congo, Somalia, recently northern Mozambique, etc., must be addressed and can be addressed. First of all, the situation in Libya was created by the arrogant and irresponsible actions of some actors that took actions that were against the express position of the African Union. I can reveal to you that those actors had a narrow escape. When some actors started attacking Libya against the decision of the African Union, I contacted His Excellency Jacob Zuma of South Africa and proposed that African armies that so decided to intervene in Libya and confront and teach a lesson to those aggressors. We were let down by Muammar Gaddafi, who abandoned Tripoli without a fight. Although at that time I did not have direct link with Muammar Gaddafi, I advised his envoy, who came to see me here, to turn Tripoli into a Stalingrad. With H.E. Jacob Zuma, we had to work out a solution for the aircraft and cruise missiles that some people use to attack defenseless people from far away, so that if the aggressors so wished, could come on the ground and we fight man to man. Such a confrontation would, of course, have been imposed on us unnecessarily. We have, since a long time ago, stated that the African patriots, like we in the NRM, are neither pro-West nor pro-East. We are first and foremost pro-Africa. Because there is something called Africa. When I came in the government when we were still fighting, are you pro-East or pro-West? Idiot, I am pro-Africa. I cannot be here to be pro others, but not pro myself. It is on account of that good friends should only deal with contentious strategic African issues via the African Union. Bypassing the African Union is not acceptable when it comes to dangerous strategic African issues. We have no interest in fighting anybody except poverty and underdevelopment in Africa, starting with Uganda. However, some actors are always in search of enemies. They are looking for enemies. You are not an enemy, they declare you an enemy. Okay, if you want to be an enemy, we can sort out issues. Our role there is to advise those who are advisable, but also do our patriotic duty if unavoidable. Unfortunately, the Libyans collapsed quickly. On account of that, much of Northwest Africa has been with security problems that were not there before. Libya, Chad, Mali, Niger, parts of Nigeria, Central African Republic, and Cameroon. Who is responsible for this hemorrhage? I hear people talking about accountability. Who is accountable for this suffering? Who caused all this? Of course, Muammar Gaddafi had his own problems. I had the task of fighting him twice, 1972 and 1979. As he intervened in Uganda on the side of Idi Amin because Idi Amin was a Muslim. However, foreign armies attacking an African country against the express objection of the African Union is not a solution. The huge concomitant suffering of the Africans in Libya and the surrounding countries has proven that if any proof was needed, Africa can defend itself against any and all aggressors if we coordinate. In 1963, our leaders met in Addis Ababa, only 36 of them that time, and declared that the rest of Africa must be freed peacefully or Africa would use force. This was 1963. That time, some of the actors thought, and they seem to think now, that this was just idle talk. Exactly 11 years later, in 1974, the African armies of Mozambique, Angola, and Guinea-Bissau, supported by the courageous Mwalimu Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, Sekou Touré, Boumediene, Nasser, and briefly Nkrumah, and the socialist countries had defeated the Portuguese African armies, totaling almost 200,000 soldiers. Just before this victory, there had been the 1973 Arab-Israeli War, where the Egyptian army put up a better performance and quite bled the Israelis before the latter crossed the canal and surrounded the Egyptian second and third armies in Suez and Port Said. The Israelis, badly needed resupplies by the USA. However, the USA had a problem because many of the European countries did not want to refuel the American transport planes in fear of the Arab anger. The Arabs had announced the 1973 oil boycott against those that they saw as their enemies. That left the Portuguese islands of the Azores. In the USA National Security Council meeting of 1974, the issue of using the Azores came up. Somebody in the meeting pointed out that Africans will be very annoyed. Henry Kissinger, who was said to be a clever man, he said to have said that African anger does not matter because they have no capacity to enforce it. Exactly 5 months from the date of that meeting, the Africans who did not matter defeated the Portuguese who mattered. I'm told Kissinger is still alive. It would be good for his record if he cleared this allegation. It is up to us to show all and sundry that we matter and we have the capacity. We defeated the Islamic hoodlums in Somalia. When we went to Somalia, these idiots were calling us kafiri, that we are kafiris. Yes, we are kafiris, but this is our land. If you don't want to be in the land of the kafiri, go to Pakistan or to other places where you come from. This is our land. This is the land of the kafiris, the land of those Christians, the land of Muslims, which is our land. So if you bring your rubbish, we'll deal with you, like we did with those idiots in Somalia. We defeated the racist whites in Southern Africa. We can defend Africa if we act together and act right. Back to Uganda now. The elections are over. Akaruru kagwa banange. Let us get down to work. The 4 economic sectors where their jobs and wealth are: commercial agriculture, Emu, with the Kibaro, Chura, Aymar, Otita, counting profitability, industries, services, and ICT. With your individual savings, collective savings by groups, borrowing from banks, or with government support, you should enter one or more of these sectors so as to chase poverty from your homesteads, create wealth and jobs for some of your family and also for others. I thank you and I wish you good luck.